Hello, and welcome back to the Void Century podcast. Ed and Adam today bringing you episode 17, chapter 982 of One Piece Rough. So, actually, the cover pages of note this week, we have Gotti carrying Lola away from an explosion, and Chiffon is carrying Beige and Pez away from the same explosion. Lola is actually looking shook to finally get the attention of a man for once, and Capone Beige is absolutely looking shook to be carried by his wife, and Pez is upset and trying to console his poor dad. So I guess we'll see where this goes next week. So to start off with the chapter, we get another shot of Onigashima. We see Kaido and Black Maria. Apparently, Black Maria isn't searching for Yamato. She would rather hang out with Kaido and try to make another son, apparently. So Orochi is sitting there, and they're all like, oh, this is a wonderful occasion. We finally get a chance to drink. The ghosts of the Kozukis are dead. Orochi's really happy. They claim that they're waiting on Kanjuro. We see towards the end of this page that Kanjuro has come into the castle and he's beating up beast pirates. Kaido and Orochi also have an interesting conversation. Kaido says, oh, Kanjuro, he was so trusted by Lord Odin. It's a shame that Odin didn't tell him anything about Laugh-Tale or the Poneglyph, so I guess he didn't know. So Kanjuro finally makes his way in, and we see that apparently he's grown a little bit larger, and he's carrying Momo. Momo looks badly beaten and bloodied, and Kanjuro basically states and apologizes that he's sorry for having to beat up some of the beast pirates on his way in. Orochi sees Momo and sees him all bloodied, and Kaido takes note. Momo attempted to escape by cutting his ropes, and Kanjuro said he had to beat him up and bloody him, but he said he's still alive. We see that Black Maria takes Momo. Kaido has a flashback of when he held Momo over the edge of the castle 20 years ago and comments on how Momo hasn't changed. He's still just a kid, and Kaido's just disappointed in Momo, calling nothing more than a little brat unfit for the greatness of his name. So Orochi gets ready to toast Kanjuro, and we see Kanjuro bow, and he says, no, Lord Orochi. And then Kanjuro tells Orochi that the samurai and the red scabbards are still alive. The raid has begun, but unfortunately there was nothing Kanjuro could do, because even after knowing Kinemon for 20 years, he couldn't possibly guess that Kinemon would come up with such a good plan. So Orochi is absolutely shook hearing that the samurai are still alive and that they're on their way to Onigashima. And in pops Fukurokuju, Earlobes himself, here to tell the world that, don't worry, Lord Orochi, it's cool. There's no ships in the port. They can't possibly have a big fleet here. The only people that have been spotted are Straw Hat Luffy, Pirate Hunter Zoro, Eustace Captain Kidd, and Killer. By the way, on this panel, the caricatures that they have of all the supernovas with mean faces on, including Killer with the mask, is absolutely hilarious. I lost it. Fukurokuju states, oh, we can only assume that the members of their crews are here too, but don't worry, Lord Orochi. All your battle powers here. We have Kaido here. The Big Mom Pirates are here. You don't have to worry, Lord Orochi. It's cool. Drink up. So we see Black Maria offers to pour Lord Orochi a drink. So she's pouring him sake into his saucer, and he's shaking so hard it's just overflowing. Orochi's having a panic attack right now, and it's absolutely wonderful. So Orochi basically notices Momo laying bloody on the floor, and he's like, oh, I have what they want. I have their commander. Whatever, we'll just execute Momo. So Orochi's like, snatches Momo from Black Maria, and basically Orochi's like, we're gonna go ahead and execute this kid. Arrange the crucifixion stand, let's get going right now. And then on the next panel, we see the Polar Tang underneath the seas, and the red scabbards have finally made contact with Nekomamushi, and they're like, oh, he's finally arrived. I can't wait to see how big he's gotten. I can't believe he's finally made it. And the narrator goes on to state that the Polar Tang has a tactical advantage throughout all this because it's a submarine. Therefore, it doesn't have to worry about all these nasty water currents around Onigashima, and it could approach the rear of the castle.
All right, so next we get to Nekomamushi's ship, and he is on a ship with Marco Phoenix and his own crew. The Cat Vipermen's Guardians is what it's called. So Marco comments that the raid has started, and he is noting that Onigashima has a new name. So apparently Marco and Neko arrived at Zou at the same time, so Neko didn't need the letter that Marco wrote for him which said that he might be a little late. Neko ends up tossing the letter overboard because he doesn't see the need for it, kind of foreshadowing maybe we'll see that letter again in the future in someone else's hands. We see Neko's guardians, his men, hyping themselves up to see Jack again. A figure starts talking. It might be Izo, we're not sure, and comments that they are surprised Marco is getting involved in the fight. And Marco comments that he really didn't realize that things got so bad on Wano. There's just so little information going in and out of Wano that he had no idea. So the shadowy figure says, "Let's go, I have a genius plan in mind." Next we cut to Denjiro. Right now he is guising as Kyoshiro. And they end up finding a pathway, just like how Kinemon did, around the midway point of circling around Onigashima Castle. And they decide that, you know what, we're gonna split our forces in half, and some of us will go through the middle, just like Kinemon's forces, and some of us will go behind the castle, just like the original plan. But in the meanwhile, they actually run into Sasaki. And because Denjiro has his alternative identity as Kyoshiro, he's actually able to go through this guarded gateway really easily. Sasaki tells Kyoshiro that he thought he wasn't going to show up to the festival. And he also notes that Kyoshiro doesn't have his pompadour anymore. Then he further tells Kyoshiro that he left the party to look for Yamato. And he also has his underlings searching for Yamato. So while Sasaki is giving him this information, Kyoshiro attaches sea stone handcuffs onto Sasaki, and Sasaki's like, "What's the meaning of this?" And Kyoshiro reveals that he's actually Denjiro and reveals his tattoo, his Kozuki tattoo. And also, Denjiro is jacked right now. He is way more muscular and massive. His neck is the size of a tree trunk. Like, this guy has been lifting. Next, we pan over to Big Mom, and we see Chopper and Usopp using the tank to shoot and distract Big Mom. And they're actually hitting her, but it's only making her more and more angry. Like, it's not really damaging her. But right now, their goal is to make sure that Big Mom doesn't attack Kinemon's forces, and they're more of a distraction to lead her away. We see Kinemon, and he is grateful, thanking Usopp and Chopper, saying that he's in their debt. And we also see Nami and Carrot, who are worried about Chopper and Usopp. And Carrot's like, "Wait, was that Big Mom?" And Nami's like, "Yeah, but there's nothing we can do against her, so we might as well continue with our plan and search the pleasure hall." While they're searching the pleasure hall, though, they run into none other than Prometheus, who is very upset at Nami specifically because she basically stole his brother, Zeus. So yeah, they have to deal with Prometheus. And finally, in the last couple of pages, we see Ulti and Page One. And Ulti has a really cute way she talks. She likes to say Pepe or Pop. Yeah, Pepe. She's like, "You can do it, Pepe. You can do it, Pepe." And Ulti is cheering on Page One. And eventually is too tired to keep up with him, so she just rides on his back. And Page One is frustrated with his sister, saying, "Don't drag me down." And while they're running, some Beast Pirates mention, "Wait, isn't that Ulti and Page One?" And they stop, and Ulti is face to face with none other than Monkey D. Luffy. And she says, "Who the hell are you?" And Luffy responds with, "No, who the hell are you?" And they are confronted with each other, and the chapter is over. And we have another chapter next week, no break. So yeah, time to discuss this chapter. What do you think?
Oh snap, this was a good hype informational chapter at the same time. I really like the last scene when Luffy's just standing there with a pirate coat on, just giving him the evil eye. I would love to see Luffy and Zoro fight Page One and Ulti, but I just don't think that's how it's going to go down. I do like the rest of this chapter, though. We got introduced to a lot of things that we need to talk about, too. Especially, so we could just start off. What's the deal with Ulti? Do you think she's going to fight Luffy?
I feel like if they fight, I do think that they're going to fight, but I'm not sure because right now Luffy and Zoro are kind of in like a runaway mode. But if they fight, I only can get the impression that it's going to be a low diff situation where he can easily defeat her just because of how easily Sanji took care of page one. I'm not sure. I would love to see them fight though because I just love seeing Luffy fight and I love action in this manga, so I would love to see them fight. I don't want it to be like an easy low diff fight though, but if they do fight, I feel like that's what's going to happen.
I'm of the mind right now that I don't think that they're going to fight simply because there's too much going on with the narration of the story and there's so many other characters doing so many other things. You can't really like work the fight into that too seamlessly, you know what I mean? Because we as the fandom are just going to want to see the fight, and to keep jumping back and forth between like the fight and everything else going on, it's going to be a little hard to follow in an arc that's already super saturated with like characters and different plot points.
Yeah, I can totally see them like not being able to fight because Luffy and Zoro are still in like runaway mode. So I could see it going either way.
I think it might be an interesting like segue into actually seeing Ulti's powers and like seeing what she can exhibit. I think the way Oda's setting it up in this story is he really wants us to believe that page one's like super weak. It seems like he's the plaything of his big sister.
Yeah, it does seem that way, but on the other hand, he's also seemingly faster than Ulti because she can't keep up with him running. So it's still kind of like uncertain their power difference. We still are led to believe she's going to be stronger. But yeah, what kind of fruit do you think she might have?
Honestly, you might think I'm crazy, but with the whole jumping on the back situation and the rest of the Flying Six members we know having ancient zones, I'm going to go with the mindset that she's some kind of raptor. I can't really see her as morphing into something like huge or monstrous. I don't think that's Oda's style. So like a more slender, like agile build would be like really cool to see from her, especially a raptor, which is like a hit and run kind of gorilla style build. It would be really interesting to see how Oda would incorporate her fruit.
I do like that idea. Also, we gotta remember that with Ulti, she's kind of got like a split personality where it's almost like pudding. I mean, not quite that drastic, but she's very like, she goes from super cutesy, very cute, kawaii, to very like angry and judgy and demanding. So like she does have that kind of like dichotomy with her personality. I'm not sure how that would fit into her devil fruit though, or how it would affect it. Like if like I do get the impression she's gonna be some type of dinosaur just because her brother is one, and they also kind of both have like the black and white coloration motif. So it would only make sense to me that she's similar to her brother with the devil fruit as well. So I like the idea of a raptor. I think that that would be a cool devil fruit for her.
I think it's also really interesting that she covers her mouth too. I think she's gonna have. Maybe she. Do you think it's possible she's a fish man? Maybe she's got fangs similar to Sasaki or Jack.
Well, we don't know what page one looks like. They both have face masks. We've only seen page one without his mask when he was in his devil fruit form, and he did have like sharp, jagged teeth. But we don't know if that's because he naturally has teeth like that, or if it's because of the devil fruit. So I honestly don't know. I have no idea why they have the face masks. It could just be for decoration, just to kind of give their characters a different art style. I'm not sure. But yeah, I would love to see what's under the mask. It's always interesting. Kind of reminds me of like Naruto with Kakashi mask. Where they never show underneath his mask really. So it could just be because they want to have different art style.
They could have Katakuri teeth.
Yeah, it could be something like Katakuri, something like a fish man hiding something, or it could just be a red herring.
Yeah, it totally is similar to possibly Zoro's eye, but we just don't know. It's a plot point that has to be adjusted in the future. So we get a little tidbit from Marco that Onigashima had a different name in the past. It's been renamed since Kaido landed there. So maybe it is more credence to the fact that Kaido himself is a demon?
Yeah, I'm really curious as to what the name could have been. Like obviously Kaido took this as his castle, as his kind of like home base. But yeah, I honestly don't know what it could be named. I do still kind of think that this was like the land of the Onis. Onis kind of fit that Japanese motif, like that Wano follows, because it's just like an Oni den.
Okay, so I know this might sound a little tinfoil hatty here, But do we even know that the horns on the skull of Onigashima are actually real horns? Maybe Kaido just put it there to kind of dress up his castle a bit. What if it's like an actual giant skull?
Yeah, it could be a giant skull. We haven't really seen or heard of any giants on Wano whatsoever. So I still like the idea of it being a giant Oni creature. And again, it fits the Wano like Japanese motif. So like to me, I'm still leaning towards it being an Oni of some kind, a giant being, maybe like we've said in the past, maybe similar to Or's race. But yeah, I don't know for sure. Like it could very well be just added on to make it look more badass and fit Kaido's motif, like you said.
So we don't know the significance of the island itself before Kaido actually took it over. We don't know what it was used for, anything like that. I think maybe the fact that Marco knows so much about it is maybe that's where the Whitebeard pirates initially landed on Wano.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Because maybe they called it something different in honor of the Whitebeard pirates.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, Orochi is kind of a scumbag and wants to humiliate Odin as much as possible. So, like, this could just be a way for him to, like, give Kaido something that was significant to Odin and make it bad or taint it because he hates Odin so much.
Yeah, I could see that. I just really can't see myself reading into too much more with like Onigashima and the island itself. I think it's interesting that it has mountains on both sides, and it's almost like the perfect defensive structure, you know what I mean? There's a big castle in the center and it's flanked by mountains on all sides, only on one harbor right in the front where the fortifications are, you know?
Yeah. But we also know that Kozuki Castle was on like the main island of Wano. So I think it was in like the Curry area, right?
Oh no, Odin Castle. So there's like 3 different castles. So there's like the main palace in the flower capital that Orochi lives in, Onigashima that Kaido lives in, and then Odin Castle in the Kibi region, which Odin himself and his retainers used to live in. So
Yes.
who knows?
Yeah, so this is just another third heavily fortified island. Perfect for Kaido, honestly. But we don't really know too much more about it, so I guess we can move on. Do you want to talk about Black Maria?
Hold on, before we move on, I do have a question though.
Yeah.
Do we think that skull is an Oni skull? Is it possible it's a dragon skull? Could that be the skull from the dragon Ryuma killed?
Ooh. Okay, well, it did look more humanoid in shape, the way that it's portrayed. So I'm gonna lean towards no, but I do like where you're going with it. But if like we got a pretty good look at it, and it looked very humanoid. So I feel like dragons are just a little bit too different the way their skulls would be shaped to actually be a dragon and not some sort of giant humanoid creature.
I agree too. I'm just trying to find a way out because they've now called into question like the whole concept of Onigashima, because we were all fixated on the fact that it's a Oni skull. Why would you name it anything different? It plays into Momotaro. But the fact that it's called something different now really, really makes me think. So to get on to Black Maria, I thought it's really interesting that 1, Kaido knows her name, and 2, she's got very motherly instincts. Again, she snatched Momo from Kanjuro and held him in her lap, and this is the enemy, you know. So this is motherly instincts kind of taking over the brain and doing, morally what's right for a mother to take care of her child. It's really interesting considering she's one of the strongest fighters in Kaido's crew, and she was like hanging around Kaido, drinking with him, being all flirty with him. Do you think it's possible there's more there? Like, we've always thought that Big Mom and Kaido were a thing, but maybe Black Maria and Kaido are a thing?
Yeah.
I mean, he knows her name, so they gotta be like on that level of intimacy. I mean, not like kiss and tell, but at least enough for the big boss to know your name.
Yeah, so Kaido and Big Mom were definitely a thing in the past. That being said, I think he's moved on by now, and I'm really getting the vibes that Black Maria and Kaido are an item. Like he is probably, or she is probably his current partner, and I think that she's currently the #1 prime candidate to be Yamato's mother. We know that, or actually we don't know, but I think it's very likely that Yamato is young, and I mean it kind of it kind of goes along with your theory that Yamato is younger and going to be kind of a parallel to Momonosuke. So Yeah, I'm getting the vibe that Yamato might just be around Momo's age, and that Black Maria could be her mother. She didn't care. She didn't know who Momo was. She just saw a child who was beaten almost to death, and yeah, I think that she is a mother, and we only really know of one child right now that Kaido would care about, which is his own son. So I am on board with the theory that Black Maria is Yamato's mother.
Do you think that Page One and Ulti's parents will also play some significance in the story? Do you think that it's somebody we know? Do you think Black Maria could be their mother?
I don't think Black Maria would be their mother just because she doesn't seem that old, but we don't know with courtesans, they have good makeup skills, all of that jazz. So I don't know, but it would be interesting to see who their parents might be, especially if it's someone that we know, like maybe it's King or something. We don't know for sure, but yeah, it'd be interesting.
I mean, because they seem relatively young too. They're younger than their Straw Hats. I mean, they're younger than Luffy, Sanji, and company. So I'd imagine that they're pretty young. Who knows? We know that the Flying Six themselves, we can assume, were only established after Kaido landed on Onigashima 20 years ago. So somewhere between 20 years and now, the Flying Six were established. We know that Ulti and Page One are less than 20 years old.
Yeah, I think that's, well, I mean, I don't know for a fact because obviously Sasaki is older than 20. Same with who's most likely older than 20. Like they recruit and they're able to grab people who are more powerful and wanting to, like Kaido wants them to join his forces. So they might not necessarily had to have been born into being a flying six, they had to climb the ranks.
No, no, no. I understand that. I'm not saying they're born into it. I'm just saying the fact that they seem relatively young to be so high in like the rest of the crew, and I wonder if their like familial relations play any significance in like their powers.
I think that that's very plausible, yeah. Okay, so I want to talk about something that happened in the chapter. So when Inu Arashi and Nekomamushi were talking over, I believe a Dendenmushi, I'm not sure, but they were talking with each other, and Inu is telling them, "Oh, we're almost at the northernmost point of Onigashima." And what ended up happening was they hung up abruptly. Neko's like, "Okay, got it," and hung up abruptly before hearing the rest of what they were going to say. And that's when I believe it was Law who was saying we needed to tell them basically that only the Polar Ting is able to go beneath the currents and navigate to the backmost point of Onigashima. A normal ship won't be able to do it. So I'm wondering what's going to happen with Neko's crew, because what if he tries to go to the northernmost point and has ship troubles because of the currents? What do you think is going to happen with that?
I think he could possibly get bailed out by somebody. I think Marco could fly them over, but I don't think Marco could fly like everybody over. I think their ship is going to sink so that Fukurokuju still doesn't get the tip off that there's anybody landing. Further credence too is now they have a larger battle force with the Minks, the Guardians arriving to the rear of the castle as well.
Yeah, that's something that was actually revealed to us. So last week I was thinking that the ship that Neko was on was potentially Izo's ship, but it seems like Izo is on Neko's ship and it's Neko's crew of some beast pirate. Or yeah, sorry, yeah,
No,
not
Minks.
minks. Sorry, not beast pirates, minks. It was Neko's ship with some minks. So yeah, Neko, I guess, is probably not bringing other people along other than his own crew, and now Marco might have his own crew. I'm not sure, but Marco is definitely on Neko's ship with Izo, it seems like. So yeah, I that's a reveal that we had, and it kind of makes me a little sad knowing that we might not get any more Whitebeard pirates outside of this.
Dude, we just got two of them, and you're like, I want more. But we could talk about some of the other things we got wrong last week besides that. Big Mom and Chopper are not rekindling the old times and the old romance. So that one's gone. Momo didn't, cut off his ropes and escape. So we're on that one too.
Yeah, his plan was foiled.
Yeah, totally. So Sasaki, actually. We see that he actually got defeated by Denjiro. So I think Sasaki, even though he was defeated, I don't think he's gone for good. I don't think he's gonna be like off screen without us being able to see like his devil fruit, get his backstory, hear his motivation and stuff. He's a big character. We should be able to hear a little bit more about him, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason he got apprehended was because he was caught off guard. He thought that Kyoshiro was his ally and didn't realize like, nope, he's actually working for Kazuki Oden still. So I don't think that it was a fair fight. I think that this might even be foreshadowing that Sasaki is gonna want to fight Kyoshiro slash Denjiro down the line. I would love to see that fight, and I bet it would be a pretty good fight too.
I think it would be a good fight too. Or I think right now maybe it's possible Kyoshiro didn't defeat him, kind of just punked him the way that they punked Jack. And since we know he's a fish man, they just throw him in the water and let him stand in the water for a little while.
Yeah, true. And I mean, honestly, I think it's easier for Denjiro to just apprehend him and incapacitate Sasaki rather than actually try to fight and defeat him. I think that this is better because right now they're trying to be as hasteful and speedy as possible to catch the main Beast Pirates forces unaware still. They're still kind of in that like stealthy mode. So that's kind of the reason why they didn't actually fight him yet and defeat him.
So do you think that they're actually confining Sasaki and they're gonna like bring him with them, or are they just gonna like beat him up and like leave him there and expect him to die or be incapacitated for the rest of the fight?
I mean, if we look at it, he's kind of like chained to a wall. So I think that they're going to leave him there. Most likely, what's going to happen in my mind is that we know he has underlings that are looking for Yamato. So when they're like reporting back to him or something, they find him tied up and they'll probably free him up. And then he's going to want to extract his revenge on Kyoshiro. So that's what I think is going to happen. I'm not sure exactly, but I kind of want to talk about what his potential devil fruit might be. What do you think?
I mean, well, if we're going ancient zones, I think he's got a high chance of being like a Leopleurodon or a Masa. So Leopleurodon is those dinosaurs you always see with like the four really huge flippers and the stumpy neck and like the big long bill filled with fangs. And then the Mosasaurus is a relative of modern day like alligators and crocodiles. So this thing's just huge, long snout, full of teeth.
You know, my vote is actually a megalodon because it's like a giant shark, ancient shark. Like that would be a cool one too.
I get it, but I don't think it was around like the dinosaur times. But it definitely is ancient, so it would fit the bill for an ancient zone. I'd love to see that too, actually.
It's ancient. It's approximately 23 to 3.6 million years ago.
Jeez, man, a giant shark would be rough. I would love to see Jinbei fight him too. But who knows? Maybe Denjiro will. I'd still love to see Denjiro showcase more of his sword skills.
Yeah, I mean, I would like Jinbei to still fight Jack because that's just a cooler fight in my opinion and a more high profile one. And honestly, Jinbei is a badass and deserves someone higher level than a Flying Six member. So my vote is Jinbei. I mean, like, my personal desire is for him to fight someone above Sasaki. But who knows? Sasaki could be a badass.
I really want Jinbei to fight Jack, but also at the same time, I want Neko and Inu to fight Jack in Sulong.
Oh yeah, because I mean, get some revenge on Jack destroying Zoe. So yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly why. But we still haven't seen Neko and Inu go Sulong, and they even stated that they were at a disadvantage because they didn't have a full moon when Jack attacked Zoe. Speaking of battle power-ups, Nami met up with Prometheus this chapter. That's interesting. Do you think Nami's gonna get Prometheus too? Now, I'm not worried for Nami. I know this is a homie. She's in Whole Cake Island. She beat up thousands of homies. She even convinced Zeus to go into slavery. So I can imagine that it would be something similar with Prometheus.
What's her battle stick called again?
Her Climatact. I don't know if her Climatact can elicit anything that's like fire to entice Prometheus.
Well, so her climb attack was actually shivering and rattling when Prometheus revealed itself to her. So there's definitely something going on with it where it's going to interact with Prometheus
Oh,
in
I
some way.
took
I'm not
that
sure
as
exactly how.
Zeus being stored in the climb attack.
Is he stored in there? I didn't know that. Okay, also, I have a question. Does Nami still have Lola's Vivre card of Big Mom?
I was thinking about that too during the chapter when I was reading it, but I was under the impression that Big Mom destroyed it.
Yeah, I don't think that still has Big Mom's Vivre card, so I don't think that she can use that anymore to interact with Prometheus. So it's gonna have to be. I'm thinking that either, like you said, she's gonna maybe try to feed Prometheus like she did with Zeus, or maybe it's gonna be Zeus versus Prometheus, and that would be a really cool fight to see the two homies fighting each other. And honestly, I feel like they're just gonna kind of like counteract each other. They're kind of like the opposites. One is like a storm cloud, and the other is like the sun, and water and fire kind of like cancel each other out. It would be like an even fight, except Nami can potentially make Zeus more powerful because of her climb attack. I would like to see that.
I don't think we've ever actually seen Zeus exhibit any kind of water powers, though. I think we've only ever seen him use electricity.
Yeah, I agree with you there, but just the fact that he's a cloud means that, he's kind of like condensed precipitation into a cloud, I'm not exactly sure the science around it, but there is water involved with clouds. So, yeah, he might not actually rain on Prometheus, but they're kind of opposites. They're opposites in more than one regard too, because they're kind of like the two destructive forces for Big Mom.
I get it, but if they both cancel each other out, how's Nami gonna push it that extra distance to capture him?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I would want her to capture Prometheus. So my guess is that they probably are about even power, but Nami is able to buff Zeus up so that he'll have the edge over Prometheus. And then maybe Zeus will help like convince Prometheus, like, yo, it's actually pretty cool being Nami's friend. Like she'll feed you and stuff. I don't know.
Or they could still be like evenly matched because as far as I understand the way the fruit works is that the souls in Zeus and Prometheus need to be refreshed like the other souls and the other homies, right?
Probably, yeah.
Even though like they're from her own soul, like they still need to be recharged with Big Mom's own soul. But Zeus has been gone for a while, whereas Prometheus has been with Big Mom this whole time.
Yeah, so Prometheus will have like the advantage of being freshly charged, but Zeus will have the advantage of Nami being able to buff him. So yeah, it'll be a cool fight. I think that fight is probably going to happen, and it'll be really cool. I kind of want to go back and talk about how Denjiro is kind of having the same exact plan as Kinemon. They both found that there are new entries available that weren't on the map, and they're both kind of at the midway point of the circular island. So I'm thinking that they're both actually gonna charge in through the middle at the exact same time, and I'm not sure what will happen, but we're gonna have like basically half of the samurai forces in the middle, and then half of the samurai forces in the back of the castle. I'm not sure who's going to be leading the people in the back, who's going to be part of that party. Maybe Sanji will be in that group. I'm not sure, but definitely it looks like Kinemon and Denjiro are both going to be in the center of Onigashima when they meet each other.
Okay, it's so easy. The time when they meet each other is after Kaido's speech right before the execution of Momo. And I think the person that might lead the forces of the rear guard will probably be Law.
Oh yeah, maybe the timing will match up where the rest of the Scabbards and Law's group will come out of the Polar Tang around the same time that the rest of the samurai forces meet up in the back. So yeah, I could see that, yeah.
Or maybe it's something along the lines of Nekomamushi and the rest of that ship's forces have to scuttle their ship, kind of giving like Fukurokuju the tip-off. But they're looking at the ship like, messing around in the currents and getting destroyed. And they're like, oh, there's nothing to worry about, guys. We saw a ship out there. It was dead. We just got to worry about Luffy and, Killer and Kid and that whole gang. So what I really want to talk about is Kaido has been confirmed looking for Laugh Tale. Now that's something that we threw out like a while ago when we were questioning his motives. And I think it's really interesting that he's also interested in Laugh Tale, whereas before we speculated he was really only interested in battle power. So maybe that's another reason for his disappointment with Momo.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that Kaido is interested in Laugh Tale. I know that you thought that this might have been the case in the past, and I didn't agree with you, and so now I'm like just surprised that this is actually the case. I wonder what his motivation for becoming Pirate King might be. I don't really know too much about Kaido still. Like, I don't know his ambitions other than he respected Kazuki Oden and he's allied with Orochi on Wano, and he also seems like he doesn't want to live anymore. So like I just don't understand what his reasoning for finding Laugh Tale might be. Maybe he doesn't care to be Pirate King. Maybe he does care. I'm not sure, but yeah, I'm kind of just wanting to learn more about Kaido and his desires now.
I feel like Oda has spent a lot of time since we first met Kaido humanizing him. Like, now it's like we're seeing Kaido, he's disappointed in Momo, and he's like showing emotion, and we're like, oh, it's just Kaido. But remember, like, we still have no idea who the heck this guy is. And since the beginning, like, he was even more of a mystery than he is now. I think it's really interesting that he wants to be Pirate King, but at the same time, he's trying to kill himself. It also makes me think that he's just some kind of gatekeeper for Laugh Tale.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Yeah, he could. I don't know either. There's just so much that can go on with this. Yeah, I still think that it's really interesting that it seems like he wants to be Pirate King now, and it to me seems like it's out of nowhere. But at the end of the day, I guess all the Yonko probably want to be Pirate King, like you said.
Except for Shanks.
Oh, does Shanks not want to be?
I mean, he knows, assumedly, where Laugh Tale is. He knows at least where he can find the poneglyphs. I think Shanks is more like a gatekeeper testing like the secession of Roger.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of mysterious old-timey figures, so that mysterious figure that Neko and Marco were talking to, I know we saw the lipstick and the dress, but are we still sure that it's Izo?
We're not sure. That's the only person that I can think of that would be that mysterious figure. Definitely when we saw the lipstick, like to me that's Izo. But at least in this chapter, we only saw kind of like a skirt or a robe of some kind by their legs. So we didn't really get to see the full figure of the person talking. So yeah, it might be Izo, it might be someone else, but like who else would be coming like with Neko, and the only other person I can think of would be Izo.
There's somebody that we haven't seen in a while either that might show up at the final battle.
Who's that?
Hiyori. We haven't seen Hiyori in a couple chapters. Hiyori would be dressed up similar to Izo with the makeup and whatnot because she was a geisha or a robi, I don't know.
Yeah, but
courtesan.
Would Hiyori be at like the waterfall entrance of Wano right now? Like I don't think so. I think she's probably in like the main city, right? Like the flower
I would
capital.
imagine so. I would imagine she would be in the same place like Tenkuyama and Otoko are. But there's still like that whole party that we don't know about. I do still believe that Izo is with Neko. However, I just wanted to call attention that there's still like a huge party of people that are going to be pivotal to this final battle that we don't know what they're doing. Granted, they've been painted as lesser characters in terms of battle power, but they're still going to be important, at least for the story.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Kinemon's plan of scuttling the ships in the harbor actually worked. I think Kinemon has the luck of the D, apparently.
Yeah, so that was definitely a great idea. Like at first when we saw that happening, we're just kind of like, man, he's going through extraordinary steps, and it's kind of like you're destroying your own battle power almost. But it's actually turning out to be a good idea because Fukurokuju says that they never spotted any ships at the harbor, so it actually is helping. It's definitely bought them more time. Like for all Kaido and Orochi know is that there's only Luffy and Kid's forces on the island. They have no idea that there's any other force. So they're still pretty much being caught unaware. Orochi is planning on doing an execution on Momo. He has no idea that the Red Scabbards are on the island and coming straight for the center of the island. So like you were saying, I think that they're going to intercept the execution right when they arrive.
I think they will too. That seems like the crescendo for the start of the final battle, because even though people are moving and even though there have been some skirmishes with Apu and Queen and whatnot, we still don't know, like, we haven't kicked off where everybody's fighting everybody and every chapter is just fight scenes, you know? So I feel like everything's really heating up for the final battle, and I feel like that proposed execution for Momo would be like the perfect crescendo for the arc, or at least this act. Because we still haven't started, what is it, Act 4 now? We're still in Act 3, we're still just building up all the tension, it's bananas.
Yeah, definitely. So for Act 4, yeah, I agree with you. I think that Act 4 will start at either the beginning of the execution or like right before the execution. I think that that's around the time Act 4 will start up. I think that we are actually winding up to the end of Act 3, and it's about time. I've been waiting for it for a while because we've been saying Act 4 is going to be where the primary battling is going to occur. So yeah, I think that we're heading there real soon. I'm actually pretty impressed with how fast the samurai forces have gotten to like the center of the island, like on the sides, like the center on the actual circumference of the the island, if that makes sense. They actually made really good pace. So that means that in a chapter or two, if they make the same pace, we'll see them in the center of the island. Assuming, Oda doesn't add more and more stuff to kind of like draw out the time a little longer. But yeah, anyway.
Yeah, I'm really loving the pacing of these past couple of chapters. I feel like Oda's been able to give us great exposition, like a little bit of fight, lots of hype, and like plenty of information, but it doesn't feel like it's dragging on because we're all waiting until all the forces finally amass at Onigashima. But it doesn't feel like a slog to read about it. It feels like everything's actually moving forward, and it's really good. I just have to say that my favorite part of this whole chapter just has to be the scene with Usopp and Chopper in the tank just firing blindly at Big Mom. Because, Usopp's screaming, Chopper's crying, they're both freaking out, and Big Mom is just pissed off. I kind of feel bad for her. I actually kind of feel bad for Big Mom. Like, even though she tried to steal Sanji and like kill him and his family, the wedding of her daughter was ruined, and she's just pissed off, and she's gone to this country, and she's allied with an old friend, and she's just pissed off this whole time, and finally she thinks she's gonna get ready to party, and now she's just getting shot in the face by a tank.
Yeah, but also I really just don't care about Big Mom. Like, she could suffer for all I care because she's a bad guy.
I think she's redeemable. I feel like the worst people she affected were probably Pound, Lola, and Chiffon. Lola and Chiffon are in a good place in their lives. Unfortunately, Pound is dead, but Big Mom didn't kill Pound. Oven killed Pound in Big Mom's name. I don't think Big Mom is so far gone that she's irredeemable. I feel like Orochi is irredeemable.
I agree with you.
If Orochi died, I wouldn't be upset. If Big Mom died, I'd be like, but she was so fun. I'd have reasons to be upset for Big Mom going away in the story.
Honestly,
Orochi, go ahead.
Honestly, I think all of the Yonko are redeemable except for Blackbeard. And even then, I'm not sure. He might be redeemable because he's kind of got a troubled past. He can't sleep. He kind of has a potential dual personality thing going on. He's the only one where I'm like, I don't know if he's redeemable, but all the other Yonko, including Big Mom and Kaido, I think they're redeemable.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think at the start of the Wano arc we would say that Kaido was redeemable, but like I stated earlier, this whole arc is work towards redeeming Kaido and making him a little bit more human. So eventually, when we get his backstory, we actually feel kind of sad about the fact that Luffy's going to kick his ass and that Blackbeard's going to steal his devil fruit. Yo, do you think that Blackbeard's going to steal Kaido's devil fruit?
First off, I'm not sure what you mean by the question because do you think Blackbeard will steal the devil fruit for himself so that he'll use it or give it to someone on his crew? Is that your question?
No, I'm of the mindset, if the Cerberus theories are true and Blackbeard really does have a unique body, I think, okay, if Blackbeard's overpowered and broken, I think he could have at least like 2 or 3 devil fruits. I think, well, he already has 2. I feel like if he had 3 and he could have the strongest of each type, I feel like that would really set him up to be like the big bad, like the undefeatable, at least from a devil fruit perspective. Like, he's got the strongest fruits, and Luffy's going to defeat him with willpower and the strength of friendship alone.
Yeah, so I think that my current theory is that Blackbeard only has two personalities. One is him like when he's awake during the day, and then the other is him when he's sleeping, and like maybe he has a different personality that takes control. And he has two different devil fruits. So right now, I'm more in the mindset that he can only have a limit of two. But there is that Cerberus theory, like you said. So if that's true, maybe he actually has a third personality that we're not aware of. So we know that he has one personality that's kind of more amenable, more friendly. Like that's the one that joined the Whitebeard crew for the most part. But then he has kind of like a darker personality. The one where, the personality that we saw of a little kid growing up really sad and alone. And that one might be, his nighttime personality. That's just how I'm going with it right now, saying it's the nighttime personality. But there could be a third personality that is even different from that. And that could be the one that could take over potentially Kaido's or another devil fruit. So yeah, I'm open to that. I don't know for sure. There hasn't been any sort of hint that Blackbeard will end up on Wano. That being said, there's so many big players in this arc right now that anything is game right now for who can show up, honestly.
Okay, so I agree with you that Blackbeard has multiple personalities and he's exhibited them. So I just want to take a walk down memory lane for a second. At least when I was first reading One Piece and we got first introduced to Blackbeard in Mocktown, and they're sitting in the bar and Luffy and Blackbeard are talking crap over pies, whether they like meat pies or fruit pies better. And it was a gag. I'm sitting here and I'm like, oh, this guy's kooky, this guy's cool, like he's a foil to Luffy, like this is funny and I'm having a good time, right? And then you have the dreams that never die speech. So I didn't take it as him being Blackbeard or him being evil. I actually liked the guy until everything went down with Ace, and then it impelled down and Luffy and Blackbeard meet up and Blackbeard's like, oh yeah, you know that if I didn't capture your brother, I would have killed you. So I totally see that, because when we're first introduced to Blackbeard, he seems like this really fun, interesting character, and he seems funny and likable. But, the whole fandom agrees that Blackbeard himself is a bastard now. So he could have multiple personalities. I still don't want to throw out the possibility that the reason why Blackbeard can absorb other devil fruits could be the same reason why he was looking for the Yami Yami no Mi in the first place. We know it has the ability to negate devil fruits. Why would it be so strange if it had the ability to absorb devil fruits too?
Yeah, and if that's the case, if it does absorb devil fruits, does that mean that that devil fruit... Have you ever watched My Hero Academia?
No.
So there's a character named All Might, and the way that his power works is he is like one of the few like characters who's able to transfer their power to someone else. And the way it works is it's additive. So anyone who previously gave that power to someone, all of that power gets added. So like a history of, let's say, like 1,000 people with this power giving their own power, adding it on top of the existing power, giving it down generation. So that's the power of All Might, basically. So I'm wondering if what you're saying is true, maybe the Yami no Mi has the ability to kind of compile all these different devil fruits into its new version of itself. So, and if that's the case, maybe someone else who had the Yami no Mi before had a different devil fruit associated with it that maybe Blackbeard just doesn't know about. So he doesn't know to tap into it, or maybe he can later discover something like that. It's a stretch. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this is actually the case, but if we're going down that path, this is a cool idea to explore.
No, I totally understand. So, two things that I want to talk about. So, we know that devil fruits, they deal with souls. Okay, so the power that's in the devil fruit, as we were introduced to it, is that there's a soul of a devil that lives in the fruit, right? You eat it, it goes into your body, and it lives inside of you. That's why you can't swim. You can't have another devil fruit, because the two souls inside of one body will fight with each other and tear the body apart. Okay, what if the Yami Yami no Mi is special specifically that it absorbs those devil fruit souls? And even furthermore, I think it's very interesting that there's so much talk about the sunrise and the dawn in this story, and the main antagonist of the series has a darkness fruit.
Yeah, totally. So my I like that significance that you're saying about the sun and darkness and light and all that stuff. My biggest issue with this theory about the Yami no Mi being able to like absorb other powers. Sorry, I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh yeah, my biggest issue with this theory is that remember when I believe it was Marco during the Marineford Saving Ace arc was saying that Blackbeard has a special body. And
Yeah, I remember that. He commented on Blackbeard's body and he said it's special.
yeah,
But what
so
if the whole thing that made his body special was the fact that he ate a Logia darkness fruit, which we've been told that when you eat a devil fruit, your body manifests itself as that element. As we saw that same time period, the fact that the admirals were so in tune with their Logia fruits that they could turn specific parts of their body into their elements at will.
yeah, I'm still leaning towards his body being special, having to do with him having multiple personalities, and he can just have two, maybe three different devil fruits because his body might have multiple souls in it that can host another devil fruit. I'm still leaning towards that theory being true, but again, enjoying exploring this side of the Yami no Mi and potential of it.
Okay, yeah, me too. So I really enjoy proposing different theories for Blackbeard's fruit. Like I can't think of just one thing that would allow him that I could say definitively that would allow him to have more than one devil fruit. However, what if the reason why he covered Whitebeard at Marineford when he went to steal his devil fruit was not the fact that he didn't want anybody to see him cutting up Whitebeard or his methodologies of getting this other fruit? What if his body is special? The chimera idea theory is true, but with the added twist that he has other mouths on the outside of his body that he fed these fruits to, signifying like the other people that he absorbed when he was like a kid or in the womb to become a chimera in the first place. Because it's very similar with like conjoined twins. When two twins are conjoined, again, that's just like a mild process of like babies absorbing other babies in the womb. So there are even cases in which one fetus will absorb another fetus in the womb, and yet there's still like another part of the other fetus that shows through on like the baby that's born. For instance, like you could have like a hair patch on your back or something like that, or like a hand where it's not supposed to be, and that kind of stuff.
I actually really like this idea that he might have been like a triplet originally, and just in the womb as a fetus absorbed the other fetus. I actually
Yeah,
really like
so he
this.
has multiple bodies inside
I
his
really
mouth.
like this idea, and it really fits well with the chimera theory. So, would he have another mouth potentially? Sure. Would it be able to eat and stuff? Sure. That would be really cool. I'm not sure if that is actually the case that will happen, but that would be a really cool reveal if it is true. So, I really like this idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it too. I'm just thinking like we've never seen like his shoulders or his back. And to go back to like Naruto, you have Datara with the mouths all over his body. I think it could be similar.
Yeah, yeah.
But hey, that's just a theory, a One Piece theory. Thanks for sailing with us. No, but in all honesty, that's it for me with the podcast.
Yeah, thanks. This was a pretty good episode. There wasn't too much content, so that's why we went more into theory mode. But there's a lot happening. There's a lot of just things shaping up for, I guess, the next act of the Wano saga.
Yeah, it's just information and hype. It's good to see Marco again. There was a lot of questions in this chapter, so that's why we geared it more towards theories this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for sailing with us. Again, this is the Void Century Podcast. Ed and Adam. Catch us out on anywhere you listen to podcasts. Check us out on the Void Century PC on Instagram and Twitter, and at the Void Century Podcast at gmail.com if you want to say hey. But as always, thanks for sailing with us. Bye.